Hi, everyone. My name's Mark Robinson. I'm the Publicity Officer on the committee of the Central Coast Mariners Official Supporters Club. This is our latest in a series of online chats where we help our listeners to get to know one of our Mariners' favourite players just that little bit better. And I'd like to welcome all members who are online live today. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to have Josh Nisbet online. Josh was the Central Coast Mariners Official Supporters Club Player of the Year last year. And I don't think I'd be giving too many secrets away if I said I'm sure he won't be far off the running again this year. My personal view was that Josh just goes from strength to strength. And his performance in the Wanderers game at the weekend was one of his finest. And that ball he put through to Marco in the first half that suddenly led to a goal was an absolute world-class piece of skill. Now, Josh, let me start by saying that you are both my partner and my daughter's favourite. So I hope that makes you either feel at ease or a little bit awkward. But I'd like to welcome you. Congratulations on the award last season, and it's a pleasure to have you online today.
I appreciate the award and appreciate it for having me here today.
That's great. Now, Saturday's game seems a good place to start, if I may. High energy game, lots of passion on both sides. Both sets of fans, very noisy, very vocal. How did you see the game?
Yeah, look, we knew we'd come out pretty quick. We knew they would come out pretty quick, and that the first probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes was just going to be full of energy and stuff. And that's what happened at the start. We were a little bit nervy, to be honest, and we sort of got a grasp of the game. It was 1-1, and then by the second half, we could have maybe taken the 3 points, but they could probably look at their game and say they could have done the same too. So you take a 1 point there, but I think we can do better next time.
Do you find that are those the kinds of games that are easier to get up for?
Yeah, 100%. Like you got second v third. It's been written all week about how important the game is and how much fans want to be engaged. So those type of games, that's the type of games you play for. Even with the RBB going there screaming loud, it's a good environment to play in, and yeah, it's very good to play with.
And how does Monty's approach before a game like that change?
To be honest, it doesn't change much. Monty's quite a great man manager. He motivates the boys, and everyone's when he speaks, everyone gets up for it. You know what I mean? So when he says it's a big game, you do know it's a big game, and yeah, he sort of pushes everyone to get to the edge and to get that sort of fighting mentality ready. And I guess as a fan, I get very frustrated when I see tackles flying in, and now and again you're feeling referees might be losing control, and it gets very emotional. One thing I do notice about you is you seem to be the picture of calmness, and you don't seem to react to getting fouled very often. You don't seem to react to decisions that seem to have gone against us, whatever. How do you do that? Yeah, in the games, I have a bit of a chat to the ref, to be honest. We get along a little bit. We have a bit of a joke and stuff, not too serious. So I just know that there's nothing really I can do to control their decision or what they saw and stuff like that. And like everyone, they may make mistakes, players make mistakes. So there's no real point having a reaction or having a negative impact on yourself when things don't go your way, because it just sort of piles on and gets worse. So I just try and move on and just hope the next one goes our way.
That's quite different to a lot of players, isn't it? Who they almost rely on their reaction to try and G everybody up. And, and I'm sure we've got some on our team, and I'm sure you see plenty in the opposition. Does that have any impact on you as a player?
Yeah, you get the few players that a wrong decision all of a sudden gives them a bit of motivation to start going out kicking people or scoring a goal or whatever. But it doesn't have an impact on me. I just sort of try and stay focused and focus on the things that are more important, and that's winning the game and not the little decisions that might not go our way.
Yeah, fair call. Can I, maybe if I'm a good way to structure this, I might take you back into the past, Josh, if I may. Where did you start? How did a kick in the park potentially result in, where you are today? Can you take us through your early life, I guess, and your formative years as a soccer player, and how you've ended up where you've ended up, who your influences have been, and just give us a bit of an insight into the journey that you've been through to get to this point, please.
Yeah, so I was born in Penrith with a older brother who was 2 years older, a year and a half older than me at the time. And I think football really started for me when I started kicking the ball around with him, when he was at the age where he started going into the teams and stuff like that. So I really just followed his footsteps, which led me to play football. And then just continued to play football. I do put down a lot of my ability and maybe mentality towards him, because it was always that objective. You want to be better than your brother. You want to compete with your older brother. So I think unconsciously he was a massive motivator and a massive helper to me doing well in football. But we moved to the Sunshine Coast at a pretty young age and went through all the what they are now NPL, but representative teams and stuff like that. And then finally got my opportunity in the Mariners in 2017 for the under-18s team. So I wasn't selected in any, would you say, A-League or set up type of teams, really. And then Mariners gave me opportunity, and yeah, now I've worked my way, and luckily I'm here.
So who spotted you all the way up in Queensland from Mariners? How did that work?
So at the time, the youth team coach of the Mariners was Ben Khan. He was a previous coach of mine in the Sunshine Coast. He had me at an early age, and he backed my ability and my potential of becoming professional, but he hadn't seen me in a few years. So it was more a bit of a punt, but he still believed in me. And yeah, fortunately for me, it worked out.
So family's still up there, or family down here now, Josh?
Yeah, all family still up in the Sunshine Coast. I've got mum and dad, older brother, and then a few younger siblings. I've got 3 younger brothers and a younger sister. So there's a few of us, but they're all up there.
Do they get down to see you play very often?
Yeah, they do. My brother came down 3 weeks ago, mum and dad 2 weeks ago, and dad's actually coming down for this game against Sydney FC. So they love football and love watching, and it sort of gives them a little bit of a holiday to get away and come watch one of my games.
Does that give you a bit of a kick along as well, or does it make you more nervous, or are you kind of over that now?
Maybe at the start I'm thinking, dad's coming down, you got to play good tonight, or one of those things, but not so anymore. I just think it's good to have them here, and it's a great opportunity to see them when I don't really get to see them much.
Yeah. Did your brother keep playing? Yeah,
so all my brothers still play except one who's becoming a referee. Actually, he's doing real well in the refereeing aspect. But yeah, the rest of them play, and yeah, they're all keen players still.
Good stuff. So again, so you arrive at the Mariners. Obviously, you go through the academy. How's your stepping into the first team? What's the process there? Yeah,
so I was doing well in the sort of youth team space for about a year, and this is when Nick Montgomery was the assistant coach for Mike Mulvey, and at that time he was a massive pusher for me to get my opportunity in the first team. He was probably the main reason I started training full time before I received any contract or anything like that, or an opportunity to get minutes. And I think maybe me doing well in training and him being a big pusher on the side got me my first appearance against Jets away in, I think maybe in January or February in 2019. That appearance earned me like a scholarship contract. So then I earned one of those, and then just been getting, at the start it was not too many minutes. To be honest, I was in and out of the squad a fair bit. Even when Stadic come in at the start, wasn't too much in the squad, but just kept pushing, and yeah, I guess won him over, and yeah, started playing minutes. And then Monty, head coach, has given me great minutes, and it's been great to play.
And coming through with a lot of your peers as well from the youth teams and academies, that must have been a real like collegiate environment to bring into the team, a bit of competition with you and your mates. That must have been, that sort of youth drive at the Mariners must have been really good.
Yeah, I think a little bit before me, there was a bit of a sort of dry spell when it come to youth getting promoted to the first team and then going on to do well. And I think maybe it was one of the first at that time to do it, and then to have my friends come along with me, and then you it sort of reminds you of playing in the youth team, just having a laugh, enjoying training, enjoying the game. So it's great that I get to have these moments, and also my friends do too.
Yeah, that's great. How did you feel on that first appearance when you went out against the Jets? Were you nervous wreck or pretty cool? Or do you remember how you felt?
Yeah, I remember I was pretty nervous too. I was thinking, you've got to do well here. And unfortunately, I did do well. But yeah, if now I'd probably just go on there and say, just enjoy yourself. Whatever happens, happens. But at the time, I was a very nervous wreck.
I'm not surprised. Is there a player? I wouldn't necessarily say in which you model yourself, but I kind of think of you these days as a bit of I'm really showing my age here, a bit of a Billy Bremner when Leeds were big in the 70s, a bit of a midfield general, go forward, but you're bobbling up all over the park, timing the tackles so well these days. Is there a player that you either play with or against who you kind of think, that's my kind of player?
Yeah, I admire the sort of players that can do a bit of everything. They can get forward, they can do the defensive work, and you just sort of look at them and sort of think, what can't they do, type of thing. So I try and there's a few players in the league that do that. I think Maxi Ballard's pretty good at that. He's pretty good on the defensive side as well, and he's got a bit going forward. But yeah, I just try and model my game to what aspect do I need to improve on, and whatever I do, I aim to do that for the next period until I think there's the next thing to improve on.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because that leads on to a question that we had from one of our members to ask you, which was his view is that your tackling skills have come on leaps and bounds this year, or at least he believes that way, which seems to be the case. Is that the case? Is that something you've been working on? And what's your next kind of focus of attention?
Look, I've probably been getting tackles and stuff, but yeah, maybe you see me getting a bit more or some harder ones. I'm not too sure, but it's a good positive to have. But look, I would like to maybe do a bit more on the front third. I don't think it's that massive of a requirement from a deep line midfielder like myself. But if I could chip in with a few goals or a few assists a season, it would help not just me, but the team be really successful.
Well, you've played just about every position possible, from almost centre forward down. I think I haven't seen you play left back, but maybe you have. Have those little glimpses in various positions, made it clear what you don't want to do, or giving you new respect for players who do play in certain positions?
Yeah, I think it probably gives me more respect to players that do play that position, and also it puts me in an environment where I'm probably out of my comfort zone at the start. For example, when I was at right winger, at sort of the start of me playing, I wasn't too great at attacking someone directly one-on-one. I still can improve on that for sure. I can get way better at that, but that ability I've improved just by being put in that position, which I don't usually get in. But yeah, there's times I think, glad I'm not doing this type of running or doing that. So yeah, I'm happy where I am at the moment.
Fair enough. It's hard yards being a sole centre forward when you're up against it, I think. Last season, I think we all agree, was a major turning point for the team. There seemed to be renewed confidence. The fans seemed to believe when we went 1-0 up, we weren't going to lose 4-1, that we could actually hold on and even build on it. We finished good position, got into the finals. We lost a couple of key players in the off season, and I think the fear was, oh no, that's the spine of our team gone. And some good signings, some real step ups from some of the younger guys. How do you see the season going?
Yeah, I think we were real good last season. We could have even done better than we did, but I still feel like we had a positive season and a successful season. And then this season, I can see us doing real well. I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be pushing for top spot. I know Melbourne City are a few points ahead with the game in hand, but as long as we perform the way we can, I don't see a reason why we can't catch them as long as they drop a few points.
Well, what do you put that change in momentum to in the last couple of years? I mean, we had so many. You may have been in the background for a little bit of it, but I'm sure that kind of negative vibe was really draining during those sort of leaner years, and things have turned on their head a little bit. What do you put that down to, Josh?
I fully put it down to just belief in ourselves. It's sort of when we weren't doing too well, it was sort of like we're trying. It's okay. We lose one game, we're saying we've got to be better. You know what I mean? We believe in ourselves, and we know that our standard should be winning every game. It should be competing every game, and not just trying to do our best, but doing our best. So I think Monty and the staff have really put in that type of mentality in us, and yeah, we've all jumped aboard that train, and yeah, we love it.
Is Monty a hard taskmaster behind the scenes?
I wouldn't say a hard taskmaster. He has what he wants to be done, and if you do it, he's all happy with. But a big part of his, would you say, like mentality is believing and the desire to win, and sort of winning at all costs, putting your body on the line, and scoring a goal is just as important as stopping clear one off the line. So he's really passionate, and that sort of oozes throughout the players.
And what do you take? What's the main thing you as an individual have taken from that style of leadership?
I think one of the things I've taken on is that you're just not one leader. You know, everyone's a part of this big cog, and as long as everyone's doing their job, everyone can be a leader, and everyone can make sure everyone's keeping up to the standards and performing the way they should. So I think Monty's, being a young group, Monty's allowed everyone to sort of step up and call out things that aren't good enough, and call out things that should be done better, and everyone to be a leader.
Is there a lot of honesty in the dressing room because of that? Is everyone very, doesn't take things too personally? Is it a very open dressing room, do you think?
Yeah, it is. If someone's sort of telling you you're not doing something, or you're not doing it up to the right standard, it probably means you're not doing it, and no one takes it personally. Everyone knows we just want the best for you or for the team. So when that does happen, it's always for the best, and it's always done in a manner where the player won't be offended, or it's more constructive criticism rather than sort of having a go at a player, which is the way it should be done, and it's the best way to sort of encourage and continue momentum.
Fair enough. Tell me about playing midfield when, I guess we were all a bit worried when Kai left, and that there could be that hole in defence, and yet a couple of players are just sensational this year in the back there. That must be really reassuring to play in front of.
Yeah, Kai's an incredible player, and you lose him and you start having questions. But I feel like the defensive we've done real well this season. The back line's been real good to play in front of. You play with confidence, knowing as long as we score one, we've got a good chance of doing well this game. So yeah, it's very relaxing and calm to have so much belief in your back line.
Yeah, fair enough. So if you could write your own job description in the team at the moment, what's your preferred spot?
Centre mid, but I just sort of like to be the one that ticks over the team, sort of keeps the momentum going, controls the game. But yeah, centre mid just sort of does what's required in the game for the team.
And you get as much pleasure clearing off the line as you do putting a ball through, like you did the other day to Marco?
Yeah, I think either one's a great thing to do for the team. I sort of just see is I've either stopped a goal or I scored a goal, and either way, it's good for the team. So as long as I'm doing those little things, they all add up to something good.
Let me ask you about the A-League as a whole. So you've been kind of pretty regular for a couple of years now. Do you see the A-League changing, I guess, in any way? What's your view of the standard of the league and just what you're seeing around you at the moment? Yeah,
I think the standard's getting better each year. I'm not sure what it was like 10 years ago. It was great standard back then as well, with Del Piero coming in and stuff like that. But the standard's getting better, and I think the Socceroos doing so well at the World Cup sort of puts a bit more respect on the A-League. And I think it's just like the MLS, it's starting to become a league where you can't just come over for a holiday. If you're a foreigner, you've got to sort of still be in a good condition and still be wanting to do well. And to be honest, it's a great thing for the league if that's the standard.
Do you think that happened before? I know that I've heard comment that did happen before. A couple of players basically would come over for a holiday. they'd sign a couple of year deal. The first 6 weeks they were quite impressive, and after that it just went all downhill, and they were getting paid a hell of a lot of money to enjoy themselves basically, and it just didn't work. Is that I guess these days clubs are being a little bit smarter?
Yeah, I think clubs are sort of not doing a background sort of check thing, making sure that the players will fit into the environment that the club has, and that the league would be suited, not just he's a big name, let's bring him out, or he should do all right. It's a bit more in detail now, and you can see with the foreign signings in most clubs, a lot of them are doing pretty well.
How much peer kind of enforcement is there in the team? You know, we've heard of the no DH policy, let's put it that way. Is that something that's fairly self-enforced amongst the team? Everybody, do people call each other out if someone's doing something a bit stupid, or you know, do you find there's enough respect for each other that people just generally don't do silly things because they know that it just doesn't get done?
Yeah, exactly. At the start, you might have a few screws not working out, and people not doing the right thing, but pretty soon they get told not to do that or cut it out, and then they sort of, it's an environment where once you've been told, you know what's expected and not to do it again. And a lot of the boys they've jumped on that, and they're not doing anything they shouldn't be doing anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. It sounds like you speak from experience there, John. I won't ask you for examples. When the three boys came back from the World Cup, obviously on a real high, it was sensational. It was great for Australian soccer. What did they bring back with them? Either, you know, you can speak individually or generally. What changed at the club as a result of those three boys getting that experience and coming back?
Yeah, I think they brought a lot of energy and sort of excitement. The group did so well overseas that they sort of wanted to just sort of get back into things and get kicking straight away. And it gave us a lot of belief that they wanted to play with us, and that they wanted to really do well in this team. So I think especially Jason, he's a bit of a character, but he came back excitement and wanting to do real well.
Did they bring particular, I wouldn't say sort of training techniques, but did they bring back new ideas, structures? Anything change visibly?
Maybe not something full on, but there might have been a slightly higher expectations and a bit more discipline, a bit more professionalism around. So maybe not having to go at people for stuff, but just sort of checking people in line for what is required for the highest level.
Yeah, fair enough. Got a few questions from members that have come in today. First one relates to you signing on for another couple of years, which obviously we're all very excited about. How pleased were you with that? And does that make you an official coaster yet, or do you still feel like an outsider?
No, I feel definitely like a coaster. I've been here since 2017, so I think I can classify myself as one now. But yeah, I was very glad to put pen to paper on the contract till June 2024. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was very happy that the club wanted me and that they saw the vision for me to be here. So yeah, it was very exciting, and I'm glad I did.
And obviously you saw the opportunity to develop. Otherwise, you wouldn't have signed. How do you hope the next couple of years personally, so not just at a team level, but personally pans out for you to develop you further, given what's at the Mariners to help you do so?
Yeah, I would love to go overseas, and the best way to do that is by being in a successful team and getting minutes. And I think Monty is doing that. He's given me plenty of time, and he's building a team that is successful. So at the moment, I'm just focusing on playing well, playing games, and hopefully winning a lot of stuff with Mariners, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Sure. And I guess that was a question I was going to ask you a little bit later, but seeing as you've raised it, obviously the ambition of most players will be to have a crack overseas. And you've seen a few of your peers, guys of this world, do so. Some do come back quite quickly, not necessarily with tails between their legs, but didn't quite work out. What have you picked up, and what have you learned from players that you've seen go overseas? Maybe mistakes or reasons why it didn't quite work out. What have you actually taken out of that?
Yeah, sometimes you see players that go overseas and it could just be unfortunate circumstances, injuries. I know that there was COVID at the time as well. So like, there's things that players can't control that led them back to Australia, which is unfortunate for them. But you also got to realise that a lot of players that have gone well overseas are sort of the hard workers, the ones that get dirty with and they need to get dirty and want to become better. So as long as I go over that with that mindset, and as long as I don't put too much pressure on myself, that opportunity does rise and just work hard, and I should go all right, hopefully.
And what is it? What is it about Scotland?
I don't know. Everyone's going there at the moment. Everyone loves Scotland.
It's freezing. It's freezing. It's cloudy. You can't understand what anybody says. What's the story there?
I don't know. Everyone's agents or whatever must know a few people in Scotland, but all the boys there, most of the boys going over there are doing real well. So I'm glad they are. Absolutely.
Have you? So again, obviously, we hope you're at Mariners for a while to come, but you've got ambitions. If you could put yourself anywhere, and I'm not just saying as a starting point, but you put yourself in a team, in an environment, in 5-6 years' time when you're at the peak of your career, give me a picture of where Josh is in 6-7 years' time.
Yeah, in 6-7 years' time, I'd love to be in one of the top 5 leagues in the world. At least I'm happy to go to Europe or Asia, and it may not work out, but say I gave it a go and say that I tried to push myself to the highest level I could and it didn't work out, or it did work out and I'm happy. But if I could have it planned, I'd love to be in the Premier League at Chelsea, my club, but not everything works out the way it is. So to be in the top 5 leagues would be great, but I'm sort of on the idea that not to try and take one massive step, to take little steps and go somewhere and then work my way up, and then hopefully get to there in 6 or 7 years.
Beautiful. And Premier League versus Spain, Italy, France, Premier League's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, look, probably a few other leagues would probably suit me better than the Premier League, but I'd love to. It's probably the most watched league, and it's a league where everyone sort of grows up watching, saying that's where you want to be. So I'm not really going to take that away from myself, and though it might be a bit more difficult to get into the Premier League, I'd still love to go there.
And why do you say Premier League men not be the most suited to your kind of style? What makes you say that?
Well, I feel like being small in stature, I've always grown up having to sort of prove people wrong and be challenged in areas that a lot of others wouldn't be challenged in. So I don't mind the idea of having to work hard, push myself and sort of battle my way through to get to where I want to get. It sort of gives me a good motivation and great challenge. And I think Premier League is probably out of the top 5 leagues the most notably different to my sort of style, maybe. But it's also the most watched, the most loved probably by the audience. So,
well, if you can wait a few years, Josh, my team at Bradford will be in the Premier League. So just keep your eyes open for that one. Could be a while. Coming back to today, and we've sort of said that obviously the team is enjoying success, and long may it continue, and well deserved it is. Does that bring you pressures onto the team? Do you find that the expectation does bring you pressure? Obviously, it's welcome pressure, but does it change the dynamic a little of the dressing room?
You would say it a little bit. At the start, when I was around, we weren't doing too well, and there wasn't too much pressure about turning things around. But now there is, and as I said earlier, one loss, and we're looking at ourselves saying, what do we need to do better? How can we be better? But I feel as though pressure, there's a good wave of pressure at the moment. It's not too much. It's not too little where you can just sit back and relax. So I think at the moment, the staff are doing real well at keeping sort of the level of intensity and pressure to a level where it's going to keep driving us forward and not sort of scare people away.
Interesting. That must have been quite frustrating when you're losing and not feeling pressure. Something must feel a bit wrong about that. Yeah.
You sort of know something's not right. Unfortunately, we're out of that period, and we're doing well now. But yeah, during those times, you get a win, and it's not even that big of a deal. Where now each win's important, each day of training is important, so we move on.
Yeah, I think it's well documented that the resources at the Mariners and at the end of the day, the dollars may not be what they are at other clubs. So how are we mixing it with them? What do we bring to the party that clubs that may have more money at their disposal currently aren't bringing to the party?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of like mungleness. Like we got young boys who are hungry to do well and hungry to compete. So I think when we get up to the big stages and we're looking forward to it, we want to be there and we're eager to do well. So I think just pure intent and passion sort of gets us a long way.
Absolutely. Oh, and I won't say a pass mark. What's a good season this season? Actually winning it is a great season. Is there anything below that people are comfortable with, or it's that or nothing?
We're in second place now, so I don't think we're going to accept anything lower than second or first at the moment. We're really pushing for winning this league, and Melbourne City obviously have to lose a few points, but as long as we win our games and put pressure on them, anything can happen. So I don't think as a club and all the players, we're saying second's the worst we'll take.
Fair enough. How has that changed from the beginning of the season? Obviously, everyone talks a good story, but deep down in your heart, what would you have been comfortable with, do you think, at the beginning of the season?
If everyone goes into the season trying to win it, and then results happen, may not start well games might not go our way. So a realistic expectation is to win it, and we want to win it. But as long as we're doing our best, we'll be happy. But I still think our true belief was to win it, and our true ambition was to win it.
And my daughter's promised she'll get a Mariners tattoo if you win it. So we haven't worked out exactly where it is, but cross that bridge when we get there. Do you have any superstitious habits? Are you a superstitious player in the dressing room?
No, I used to be that you've got to get to bed super early and eat a lot of pasta and only pasta before games and listen to motivational music before games. And now I got nothing. I can eat what I want. I don't go to bed too late, but I'm not trying to tuck myself in at 8:30 anymore. But but yeah, I'm all good. But there's a few players that have got to do stuff before.
Beautiful. That's my next question.
What players?
Yeah, what players and what do they do?
So I know Max Ballard has to have pasta regardless. I know Dan Hawley, he's got to step on the pitch with his right foot. So if you ever watch him before the game, he'll hop on if it's not the right strides. He'll hop on with his right foot. There's a few other players, but I don't know exactly. But yeah, footballers are quite superstitious, I think, which I don't quite understand why, but yeah, they are.
Well, I suppose if you're on a roll and you've won a couple of games and you notice that you've done the same thing 2 times, you just think, well, third time I've nothing to lose. And then if you win that, and before you know it, it's become a habit. And, it's done you well. So you can't foresee anything coming up in the superstitious line?
No.
Fair enough. What away grounds? Where do you like to visit? Where don't you like to visit? And why?
So I like to visit Brisbane just because that's where all my family get to come to my games.
Yeah.
But I don't mind Adelaide Cooper Stadium. Just it's a small stadium, sort of like the Mariners. You sort of get that. There might not be as many people there, but just due to the stadium, you can feel a bit of the energy.
Yeah. Not
quite as good as Industrial Group Stadium, but it's still nice. But the games are probably least like the big travel ones, the Perth or the Wellington. You just sort of, it's not too bad, and it's a very privileged position to be able to travel across Australia to play football. But if I could pick a worse one, it would be the Perth travel probably.
Fair enough. It's an interesting dynamic in the league. Other than Melbourne City, a lot of those smaller teams that a couple of years ago were just in all kinds of trouble are doing really well now. That must be it must be refreshing to play in a league like that. Yeah,
when Jason came across, one of the first things he noticed is that it's a league where everyone can beat everyone, and you never know who's going to win it. Where you go to the top leagues in Europe, you got a few teams that, okay, they're going to win it. It's not going to be anyone else.
Yeah.
So one of the big things he said is that you just go for it. Anyone can win it, so why not let it be us?
Mm.
So it's great to be part of that league, to like that type of league setup where as long as you're doing well, you've got a great chance of winning.
Absolutely, especially against Sydney.
Especially.
The Mariners Stadium must be a lift. I mean, what a beautiful stadium. Crowds often aren't huge, but it must be a good lift to play there when you're there. I mean, it's just seems like a great pitch, great setting. Few away fans help create a bit of atmosphere. It must be just a nice place to call home.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of the times you go there and a fair few of the fans are families, like they've got little kids cheering you on, and you just remember you being at that age, loving going to the game. So it's great to have that sort of family environment, and also that crowd that sort of lifts you and gives you great energy when you're on the pitch. And the viewing's pretty good, pretty impressive as well.
It's very impressive, yeah. Wherever you are in the stadium, it's great. Do you maintain contact with boys that have gone overseas? And is there a bit of an old boys' school almost there? Everyone keeps in touch with each other, or just selectively, or how does that work?
Yeah. So everyone's because we're such a young group. A lot of almost every single bloke gets on with every single bloke. You wouldn't really see anyone that wouldn't spend time with each other outside of the change room. So like I keep in touch with a fair few, whether it be talking a little bit of crap in the group chat or just checking up on them on the side. Speak to Louis, Garang, speak to all of them really, and just make sure they're doing all right.
And what does it whet your appetite to go overseas when you hear from them, or do some of them have a bit of a hard time and you think, oh, maybe I'm well off just spending a couple more years getting a bit older over here and then giving it a go? What do you learn from that banter?
Yeah, you sort of find a balance. You hear people doing real well and you hear people not doing well, but I sort of try and look at the people doing well and think they were my teammates not too long ago, and it's quite inspiring to see them, especially Garang, who's gone 17, 18 years of age now, signed for a Premier League club, doing real well. So it's sort of a bit of an inspiration to see, especially your mates doing real well.
And it probably whets your appetite as well, and it shows you what's possible, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you what's achievable, and as long as you push and work hard, you can achieve it as well.
So before you were playing soccer, I guess you started so young, but what interest do you have outside of soccer? And I guess if you weren't playing soccer, so if someone said, Josh, soccer's done for you tomorrow, where would you go? What would you do? What's your kind of other things in your life?
Yeah, look, I quite enjoy sort of the finance type of side of stuff. My dad works with finance, and I don't mind seeing what he does and just sort of being smart with money. So that's probably an avenue I could see myself going down, maybe going to uni and getting a degree in that, or TAFE, to sort of go down that avenue. But yeah, at the moment, if you said football's done, I'd be a little bit of a panic right now.
And that would be fair enough. Is it possible to study while you're playing full time?
Yeah, 100%. Fortunately in this position, you do get a bit of downtime, and if you can work it out easily that you can go study and or do something on the side for your education. And it's easy. It's very achievable, and yeah, you can easily do it.
Yeah. Is it something you're thinking of doing, or still just too busy thinking about soccer?
Look, it's probably something I should be doing, but at the moment I'm just enjoying life. If you ask mum and dad, I probably should be doing that, but
yeah, you sound like my dad too.
But yeah, at the moment I'm just enjoying life, and I love just don't see much outside of football that I'd love to do. You know what I mean? Football's a very big part of my life, and very passionate about it. So at the moment, I don't quite see anything outside where I'm sort of dying to want to do or wanting to learn more about. But yeah, if you ask mum and dad, I should be using my time a bit more.
That's their job, mate. That's their job.
It is.
Well, I've asked all the questions I've got in front of me, Josh. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You look happy. You seem like a really lovely guy. I'm sure everybody who watches this will agree with me. We all wish you all the best. As I say, we've watched you. It's only been a couple of years, but we've watched you improve tremendously over that time. We know you give everything on the pitch. Your attitude is sensational. You're kind of a local boy these days, and I know everybody at the club will, watch your future and wish you all the very best for certainly this year, hopefully next year, and definitely whatever we see after that. So thank you so much for your time tonight, mate. And I know everybody who watches this will enjoy it very much.
No, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, the questions have been great.
Sorry, Mark, we do have a couple of questions that come through the chat.
Okay.
One is Xbox or PlayStation?
I've got a PlayStation 5, so I play that. Never had an Xbox.
Yep. And the other question is the funniest teammate.
Look, I find a few people pretty funny. It's sort of, we've got a few youngsters that sort of, it's more the combination of people together that sort of create great laughs. But if you're talking probably just individually, you're probably saying Jason Cummings. He loves it.
It or himself?
A bit of both, to be honest. You'll see the show on tomorrow. But yeah, you'll see it all.
Excellent.
Sorry, my wife is just writing one down. Teammate best to bunk with on an away trip?
I've only ever really bunked with Dan Hall. Right, pretty much every game I've gone to, he's gone to as well. So he's probably, in my eyes, he's the best one. He's quite relaxed. He's pretty chill, and yeah, we get along. So it's quite a good time.
So he's the best and the worst.
Yeah, technically, yeah. He's the bottom of the list and top of the list.
Another one come from the chat saying, who has the most fines this season?
Maybe, to be fair, we're all pretty good. We sort of have a go about each other and stuff like that. But I think maybe Mareshi or maybe the foreigners. I think it's a bit of translation lost or something. But a few of them forget the rules or what's meant to happen. But yeah, maybe one of the foreigners.
Okay. That's it, Mark.
All right. Well, I've done my wrap up. So thanks again for your time tonight, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Cheers. All the best.